What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. We are back with the Dive Podcast.
Back in full effect.
Yeah, the Dive Podcast.
Y'all, it's been like 3 months.
I know. We're
And,
sorry.
We're sorry.
Been a minute.
We didn't say anything, but what I will say is it's been very necessary.
Yes.
And I believe that the content that we're going to produce from this point going forward is going to even like be just next level, because we've had time to go through some stuff. We've had time to learn through some stuff.
Yeah.
We've had some time to rest through some stuff. It's just been a lot that's happened, a lot that's changed. And the Lord is just, the Lord's been working.
Yeah.
The Lord's been doing the work. And we're so excited to share more about that soon. At some point as we go through these episodes, but we just wanted to hop in, check in before we get into anything today. We just want to reintroduce ourselves, let you know who we are if you don't remember, and then also encourage you to do a few things. So I'm Kemen. You can find me on Instagram at Kemen Dumas. Who are you?
I'm Jayce. You can find me on Instagram at Jayce.p.
And I'm Dezre'al, and you can find me at purposed.desi.
Yeah, and we are the Dive Podcast Trio. And the whole purpose of the podcast is for us to go deeper into Jesus, faith, and motivating us, and talking about life. You know, we just want to talk about life and bring a real perspective to things that we experience on the daily. How to grow through certain parts of life and all that. So that's what we are, what we're about. But what's been going on, guys? What's been going on? Where have we been for 3 months? What's been going on in our lives?
Man, I don't know. I guess just been on a journey. 3 months is a long time, so it's been a lot going on.
It was summer break, guys.
Right. But, I mean, I don't know, man. It's just been a lot. I can say for sure over the last 2 to 3 weeks, I guess I'll speak on that because that's just what's fresh on my mind. It's just like I'm kind of in this season of just like self-reflect, self-evaluation, reevaluating, or I guess realizing self-worth and self-value. So that's just that's somewhere that God kind of has me right now through just like I say, everyday life, certain situations that are happening or unfolding. It's just like causing me to kind of really look in the mirror from different viewpoints, and so that's really kind of what I'm dealing with, what I'm going through right now, but but ultimately, confident, hopeful, and got God on my side, so everything is it's all good, so
this is a hard-working man. I'm telling you. I look at this, like every time I see him, he's doing something. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, absolutely.
And he could be inside. I was telling him the other day, because we were inside somewhere. I was like, bro, you look like you've been outside working in the sun all day long.
And I was like, I actually haven't today. This has all been inside.
So Jayce is...
He got it.
It was a doozy that day.
Yeah. But you got it done, bro.
Yeah.
You got it done.
Yeah.
That's one thing we're going to do. We're going to show up.
We're going to show up and, facts.
Yeah, we're going to show up.
How about you, Desi?
Ooh, for me, it's, I would say, if I could title these 3 months, it's like, for one, I'm going through a transition, but if I could title it anything, it's like exposed. That is the place that God has me in. It's exposed. Like he's stripping away, he's been stripping away everything that I've covered myself with to comfort and to validate and to make myself feel okay with where I am. Like God has literally stripped that away and exposed to me. And it has been challenging because you have to take a look at yourself you know, and you have to, and sometimes exposing yourself is like realizing what's really there, and then also what isn't there, you know. And so God has been showing me what's there that I've been neglecting, that I haven't valued, or I'm not putting into place, and also the things that aren't there that I've put there to make these other things be what is there that I want it to be. I don't know how to say this. Make it be what I need it to be. And all of my comfort has been stripped away. And like literally I'm at a place where I can only look to God, you know, as my provider, as my protector, you know, a revealer. Like he's just been showing me so much. And it's been a good place, a blessed place, but it's been a hard place because God's just showing me some things and really dealing with me and calling me out of myself, and not in a superficial way, but in a true way, so that I can really walk out the things that he's calling me to. And I can't put on a mask. Like I was talking to somebody and I told them like, I'm like one of the most transparent people. And then the thought that came to my mind literally was like transparent tape. And it's like, I can be transparent all I want, but all I'm doing is masking what's torn and what's broken. And it's like, even though I'm transparent and I'm sharing that, people can still see the brokenness, and the brokenness is still there. And it, you know, I say that I serve a God who's a healer and a restorer.
Yeah.
But all I'm doing is I'm resting with my transparent tape, and I'm feeling good that, oh, I'm not ashamed to tell my truth or my story, but I'm really not coming to God in the way that I need to be, so that I don't need transparent tape. Wow. You know, I can just be, and I can walk out what God wants to do in my life, you know, instead of trying to hold myself together with this clear piece of plastic that, you know, is just literally just holding me together and acting like people can't see what's really going on. You know, it's like the break is still there. The brokenness is still there. The hurt is still there. All of those things that you're going through is still there. And talking about it is great, and acting like, you know, I'm not ashamed to tell it is great, but it's not great if you're not going to go to the healer. You're not going to go to the restorer. You're not even going to go through the process of what it means, because I'm so secure with my tape. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And yeah.
Wow. I was actually talking to somebody about that, like how almost the things that we've experienced in damage, and because sometimes we can be transparent about it, will almost make us think that it's normal to just be there in that place. I think I preached about it a little bit too. It's like, it's not normal. And the Lord really does want to heal us from it. But it's like, he's not going to heal something that you don't surrender before him. Yes. And so, Desi, that's powerful.
To surrender and to go to that place. Like, you know, a lot of times when we use tape to tear something, you know, to cover something up, we're like going over it. You know, you're forgetting about it. It's what it needs to do. You're moving past that point. You know, like, I just need this tape to hold together what I need so I can do whatever else I need to do. And it's like, God's like, go back to that place. And God's been calling me back to that place. And really showing me things that I need to repent about during that time, things that I believed, things that I thought about, even about God. You know, God like showed me something recently, and like in my mind and in my heart, like I felt like God wasn't there. But then going through this process of just like meditating, just getting God and praying about it, like God showed me like I've always been there, you know. But I had to go back to that point and then forgive myself for even thinking that God is a God who would leave me or forsake me, you know. Like I had to ask God, like, God, forgive me for thinking that, you know, even at that point, like I truly believed that you weren't with us. Like I would say that I you know, like I said it out of my mouth. I remember telling my mom things like that, like God isn't with us, God doesn't care about us, you know. And like God needed me to go back to that point, because that was a point of brokenness that has carried that I've carried with me for a long time. Because you got to imagine, if I said that, like how long has that little inkling of words been living with me for so long that even when God is with me, I still teeter-totter on, God, are you really with me? God, are you really doing this thing? God can show himself all these things. But deep down in the core of me, there's this place that once believed that God wasn't with me, and I felt that way. And in that time, I had to go back and know that God was with me.
Yeah.
But, I had to go back to that. Like, I've moved past it, and I've accepted that God, you're with me now, and God needs me to know, no, I've always been with you. So that's been the space I'm in.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think, because, like, for instance, the duct tape fixes everything kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, at some point, that tape is going to wear.
Yeah.
The weather will wear that thing out. It's like if you put that on a car or something like that, at some point the sun beating on it, the rain, all that stuff, it's going to expose that again. And it may have been a temporary fix for the moment, but it's not the actual thing that to repair it. It's not what's actually needed to repair it. And so
that's
like
good.
we can put patches over something. And it's okay for a while, but when storms start to come, thoughts start to come, it like keeps beating at it until eventually it rips off. And it's like, snap. I actually never dealt with that thing. And the thing is, you put it over there, and it's like, I dealt with it. And you get comfortable with thinking that you did deal with it, but you really didn't. Thank you for your transparency, Desi.
Right.
You was about to make somebody start crying in here, and I'm not about. You was about to start crying, and he was trying to make me start crying.
No, I don't want to cry, but it's just something that I've that I've been seeing, I'm really allowing myself to be exposed and to say, even to the point like you aren't doing what you're supposed to be doing. You do a lot. Like I was talking to you, we were at a wedding, and I was talking about pride and how, I had realized I've been dealing with pride and pride in a way that like I needed to be seen this way. Like I needed to be seen, like you said, we show up. I needed to be seen this way as we show up. We're the good children. And I even had to deal with something like why I needed to be like the child that didn't get in trouble, the child that didn't want to cause problems and things like that. The one who was always so ready to help and always so eager to be there, for my parent and just all of these things. Even in workplace, I didn't want to look like a failure and all of these things. And so even when the reality is I'm failing, like I knew all the right things to make sure that the facade of it is I'm put together, but inside I'm failing, I'm struggling, I'm not keeping up with the things that I need to keep up, I'm breaking down. But on the outside, I'm getting the praises, I'm getting the amens, I'm getting what we're so proud of you because I knew what to do, and that was that pride. And it's like, you get so used to hearing that and knowing that you're doing good and you're wondering, why am I not advancing in life? It's like I should be advancing, like everybody's seeing the type of person and I'm so good, and it's because pride has kept me in this small box that when I get into the realness of who I am and what I want to do, they're not seeing that because it's going to require me to do some things and to be a certain way and to be this person and actually to show up in all the ways that I can't hide anymore. And so God is like, I'm breaking you out of those rooms because you can't stay here anymore. Those people, you can't be seen. So like, it's so crazy. Even if somebody I was connected to recently, they're like, I'm a tough coach. And instantly she's calling me, like telling me like, this is doing too much, and holding me accountable so I can get to that next place. Like people aren't, I can talk as good as I want to. I can sound so great and make it look like I have it all together. But the people who are waiting in the rooms for me, they don't see that. They need me to be a good steward of my time and my finances and disciplined and consistent and showing up in all the ways that I struggle with. Whereas like with these people right here in this room, I just need to show up when they need me. And I know I can do that. I know I can do these things. I've made this a comfort place, but it's a place of pride. Wow. And it's held me back for so long, and God has like opened that up.
My God. I'm sure that's been uncomfortable.
It's been very uncomfortable, but I'm so ready for that next level. It's like when you start asking God, like, God, I want more. God, why is this? Why? And what they say, be careful what you ask for, because God gonna show you.
He gonna show up.
and I just been in this place of exposed. And God, it was so crazy. This is so funny because I was like, God, I just want to be seen. And God was like, okay.
Yeah.
I was praying like, God, I want to be seen. I need to be seen. And God exposed me.
Yep.
He exposed me. I want to be seen. I want to be seen for the person that I am. I want to be seen for my talents and my gifts. And God exposed me.
Like,
you know, like, why are you playing with me like that? Like, and he's like, no, I need you to do these things. Yeah. I need you. That's because good. I do have these rooms for you. I do have these places for you. Everything that I've prophesied and promised you, I have them for you, but you can't stay right here. Mm-hmm. You know, it made me think about even that duct tape you just brought up. Like, a duct tape on a box might be good holding pillows, but then when you start putting glass in it and you start putting heavier elements that needed to be carried to a different place, that duct tape might not be able to carry that, but duct tape holding them pillows and all that other stuff and soft and light stuff. Oh man, you think that duct tape is doing what it needs to do, but the moment you put something in there that's heavier, it wears it out.
That just that just stirred me. You get some, Jesus. Receive it.
My God, that's where I'm at. God is like that duct tape. Wow. I'm about to start putting some glass in you. I'm about to start putting some fragile and some heavy items in you that what you have holding this box together isn't gonna work. I'm gonna need you to become Tupperware. I'm gonna need you to become a bin, a plastic bin. I need you to become stronger, you know, so you can carry these things, because that cardboard box with that duct tape not doing it anymore.
I am so about to get up from this table and start running around this room.
That's where I've been, y'all. Oh my God. Enough about me. Kemen, where have you been?
Jesus, wait a second. We need a moment because woo, my spirit just got stirred, Jayce. I'm sorry if this is churchy, but something just stirred up in me.
Look, what? Okay, help today.
Okay, refocusing because I'm out of there. I just want to, man, this season has been very, very interesting. Yeah. The Lord has done a lot. I said this, I don't know when this is coming out, but I said this on one of my messages, how I received a lot of prophecies and stuff like that, and things are just unfolding in front of my face, and I'm not trying. I'm just being obedient. You know, it's like every nudge that the Lord has put on my heart, or every unction, because I know I'm submitted, I just obey. Yeah. So whenever He says to do something, I'm like, yeah. But it's like doing that, I'm just seeing all the stuff that the Lord is prophesying and speaking. Yeah. Some like within the span of a month, some within the span of like a year's prophecy. Yeah. It's like all this is happening in my face. I'm like, whoa. Yeah. It's kind of surreal. But I came back from sabbatical in March, and we recorded one episode, I think, the marriage episode. And I came back from sabbatical, and the Lord was like, don't preach publicly until your birthday. That's like 4.5 months of me not just being quiet and sitting, and the Lord was just depositing so much. And honestly, when it happened, I did not have context for the season. I knew I had I came back from sabbatical focused. I'll say that. That's kind of been the name of my season, is focused, but I didn't have context to why the Lord didn't want me to be in that public eye for that period of time. And so I just remember I've been focus on 3 specific things that the Lord has kind of had put on my heart going into sabbatical, and that was my relationship with the Lord, that was marriage, and that was ministry, and seeing where what's that next step look like for us, even with KDM and all those things. And so those were my focus, and the Lord's just been speaking in those things, but I was, like I said, no context. And so I know y'all know Jonathan, and so it's so funny. The Lord was like, sow a seed into Jonathan. And so I sowed a seed into Jonathan, and he texted me. He's like, man, the Lord really had you on my heart. Can we hop on a call in soon. And so I was like, yeah, so we scheduled the call. And he just started, we got on the call and he was like, I feel like the Lord wants me to give you context for a season that you don't have context for right now. You're in this space where you really don't know why you're here, but I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
And so he just started pouring all this wisdom and giving me context to what was going on. And one of the things that he said was that the Lord was purifying my priorities and like,
Jesus,
and establishing a culture in me. So it's like, remember I've been teaching you guys about impartation, how it has to be you in order for you to impart it to somebody. And so it's the same thing with culture. It's like the culture has to be you in order for you to like sustainably live it out.
Yeah.
You can try and jump into somebody else's culture, but if it's not a part of who you are, then you can't live that thing out.
Yeah.
And so he was like, he's establishing that and purifying my priorities and things like that. And I can really see those things like happening in my life. It's like I'm focused on the things in which the Lord is giving me and telling me to go, like, and nothing else is breaking those things. And it's like realizing, okay, what do I need to put in place, and where is my energy going? Aaliyah and Jonathan came and was like, no plan Bs. And that's been my life since then. It's like, with him purifying my priorities is also in the fact that if this is my priority and I know that he's put it there is no other option. So like, I'm focused on that. And it's like, okay, what does it look like giving all of my energy into those spaces that the Lord is leading me into? And I'm just seeing it's like the Lord allowing me to step into territory, the Lord allowing me to step into places, the Lord depositing things into me. Like, this is my first time teaching a 6-part series. Like, and I wasn't prepared necessarily I knew the Lord wanted me to teach a series, but I didn't think it was going to be this soon. Like, go into it like that. But like, it's just all of those things. But that came by me prioritizing the right things. And so if I had not prioritized my time spent with God, right, then I would not have had the wisdom on how to go through this series and do what the Lord wanted to do through that. If I was not prioritizing what even the ministry and what we're doing through that, it's like I wouldn't have vision for that next stage that we're stepping into and where we're going with that. If I didn't put a priority even on marriage, it's like I would have no vision for what I'm supposed to look like as a husband and who my wife is supposed to look like. So it's like all of those things are a result of me having a set focus. And then because I have a set focus, that aligns my priorities and what I prioritize and where my energy goes, which sets me up to walk in everything that the Lord wants for me to walk in. I think a lot of the reason that we're so all over the place and we're not able to actually like hammer down and lock in on places because we got plan Bs or we got other priorities.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, if we really locked in on the one thing that the Lord is showing us, dog, everything, it just opens up for you. It's like I said, I'm not trying. I'm just being obedient. Like, financially, me not preaching for 4.5 months is actually because of what I do, it affects my finances. But me being obedient, the Lord actually opened up avenues for me to receive more than I would have ever received if I had been stayed disobedient to the Lord. So it's like everything that I need in preparation, what the Lord is doing in me, all of those things have been rooted out of that focus. I remember
that's good.
Prophet was like, we had a meeting, we were talking, and she rebuked the mess out of me. She was like, you need to make up your mind. And she brought me back to James, where he says, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Don't let that man think he'll receive anything from the Lord. And the reason that you can't receive anything from the Lord is because you're double-minded. Which means you have to make up your mind first. The Lord can't make your mind up for you.
Oh, that's good.
You got to make up your mind first. And when you make up your mind, then the Lord can give you the wisdom He can give you the strategy. He can give you the favor for everything that you need going forward. But it has to start with you having a made up mind. And so she rebuked me on that. And I was like, I remember that same day I went and spent my time with the Lord, because I used to go to this park and just journal and write with the Lord. I was like, every indecisive thought, every insecurity, every thing that's trying to rob me of my inheritance, I rebuke you. And like, I want everything that the Lord has for me. The devil cannot have my inheritance. The devil cannot have my birthright. The devil cannot have what I'm walking into. The Lord's purpose in my life is going to prevail. I have made my mind up. I literally have the journal entry, but it's like, that was the beginning of that shift in my life. It's like, made up mind, all this stuff is unfolding. Yeah. All this, like, financially, I ain't never been in this position in my life. I ain't changed jobs. Yeah. But the Lord's opened up everything that I could need. Yeah. And so I'm just continuing to trust Him and walking out in obedience and stay in that place of focus. And
ooh, that's so good.
Happening. Yeah, that's good.
That's good.
That's good. That's a good word, man. That's a good word. It helps me with, this season that I'm in, you know, because that's somewhat of what I've been dealing with, and what I was saying, just kind of having to look at myself from different views and really, when you said like, just trying to, having too much going on, and that's kind of me. It's like I got so many things going on because I see the possibility of doing it all and I'm capable of doing it all, but at the same time I'm not capable of doing it all at the same time. It's like I can do it all, but there's going to have to be a process or a certain order to it to do so, and so it's just so that's right on time for me, because that's basically where I've been, just trying, just like, looking at myself, looking at what I need to be doing, what God has given me, and really just focusing and doing that instead of and really just trusting that if I focus on that, everything's gonna fall into place and it's gonna be all right, instead of knowing like, man, this is what I want to do, this is what God is giving me, but I don't actually see how right now, or I don't see this, keeping my lights on at this immediate moment. So it's like, so I'm gonna work on this, but at the same time, I'm gonna go over here and do this because this is gonna pay the bills. And it's like, but at some point, all the attention starts to go more and more over here, and then this gets pushed further and further back on the back burner. And it's like, it's good, lights are on, but then it's like, so
I look at David, right? I love David's life, and I haven't taught about it yet, but David, he gets anointed to be king, right? But he could not act out being in that king role yet. There was still some development and things that happened, but there was a space after he gets anointed to be king. He actually gets called to go and be a harp player for Saul. He goes, does that for a little bit, and then he goes back to being a shepherd. And then the opportunity comes for him to go, his father sends him to go to the battle where Goliath is to send his brothers food. From that place, then he's invited to in the king's space to have the opportunity to fight against Goliath. Some things that we don't realize about that. David went into a space and then he was sent back. And then the opportunity came where he wasn't even looking for it. He just walked into it. He was obedient when his father told him to go and bring food. But everybody doesn't have access to the king's quarters, to the king's space. Like, the only way David was able to get into access to speak with Saul to be able to fight Goliath was because there was a season in his life where he was the harp player.
Which means he was an armor bearer as well.
So that means that some of the seasons in our, like, sometimes we'll be in a season we won't necessarily have context for it. But then that very room that you were in for just a moment, and you thought, I got sent back from it, is like going to open you up to be able to walk into that next space. But David also couldn't act outside of his role, even though he was anointed for it. Jonathan said it to me like this: the just because a new wineskin is anointed doesn't mean that the old one is passed away yet. So David is anointed already to be king, but he can't put on the king's armor because that's not his position yet. And so it's like he had to focus on where he was at the time and not try to act into a role that he knew he was anointed for, he knew he was ordained for, he knew he was called to already years before. And so if he had acted outside of that, then when it came time for the battle, he would have lost. He would have lost that battle, but he was himself and in the position and focused on being who he was called to be in that moment, not who he was called to be in the future.
And what he knew about God.
Exactly, and what he knew about God.
He knew who he used who he was and what he had.
Right.
But what caused him to be successful is what he knew about God. What caused him to defeat Goliath and ultimately, even make room for him is what he believed about God. What even, like they were like, what makes you think you can speak like this to us? And that's actually the king. They like, well, if he says it, then, he gives him the chance, and then the king tries to give him the armor and things like that. But it's ultimately because what he believed about God. Like he just had this confidence in himself, in his abilities, and like you said, who he was, and also what he believed about God. And I think sometimes it goes back to me, what I was saying, like, I say I believe God is this, but deep down inside of me, from this moment long ago, I'm carrying this, hidden belief that, there is a chance that God isn't with me, or there's been a time in my life where God hasn't been with me, but David came in this place like, nah, I know God. This is what I know about God. Like, and we his people. Like, who is this person, And so I love that. And even, you and understanding being obedient. And it makes me think about, I was at this actual creative company. They put on the creative intensive. And one of the classes was called Measuring Success. And I love what you're saying about obedience. Like, I've been so successful, and I've been coming into all these prophecies about what God's saying. I haven't did anything but been obedient. Like, one of the things that he said that Mark Snyder, he taught the class on measuring success. He said, the only way you can measure success is by your obedience to God. That's it. Like, in your obedience to God is the only way you can measure success. Like, as you're obedient, you'll begin to see your successes in the successes that God has for you, Other than that, there's no way. And I'm just like, so hearing you even saying that, like, it's just me being obedient. What you're seeing in my life, what you're seeing happening is just me being obedient. What God has allowing for me to happen, like, is me being obedient. Like, not what I want, not what I think is right, not what I think should happen. It's simply me being obedient. And I think being obedient, if we're going to be real, being obedient all comes from what you believe about God.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you know that God is going to provide for you, if you know that God is not a man that he should lie, if you know that God will not leave you nor forsake you, if you know God is your provider, if you know God is your protector, like, if you know the things about God, you're not going to question being obedient. So you have to, in order to be obedient, in order to be successful, you have to bring it all the way back to what do I believe and what do I know about God.
I pray every day for 3 things. I pray for wisdom, for radical obedience, and for fear of the Lord. And the most important one of those 3 is fear of the Lord. Because if you have a fear or reverence for God, it's like, it's just going to cause you to... You will walk in obedience. It's like, oh, I don't want to lose this presence. I don't... And it's like, I ask for a heightening of that every day. I remember simply you said, careful what you pray for. Like, so many times I've just been met with dreams where I'm just like, I wake up crying, just tears and things like that. But it's like, I wouldn't change those things for anything, because it's like, is activated something in me that always desires to seek the Lord and hear the Lord. Like I said when we were talking about in the marriage thing, it's like my prayer every morning is, Lord, thank you for waking me up today, but please speak to me, because I can't go throughout this day if I don't feel your urges and I don't hear you speaking to me, because I could just be doing stuff out of myself. And it's like, for me to continue to walk in obedience, because even in that, I don't want to get complacent in what I think is obedience. And I don't want to get comfortable and think, oh, I obeyed because I did it this way, or the Lord's trying to bring me another way, or that I think that I know the voice of God so well that I've actually gotten comfortable with God. And if the fear of the Lord is always active, then it's always, there's so much more I can learn. There's so much more that he can do. There's so much more that he's saying than what I can even express or even hear, because he's always speaking. And so I don't want to get comfortable in what I think I know. I don't want to get comfortable in even the wisdom in which he's given me, where it turns into like almost like a self thing, where I know I got wisdom from God, or I know that this is something. And it's like, nah, he's always giving me wisdom. He's always going to be pouring those things out. And I don't want to get complacent. So, Lord, keep that fear of the Lord kindling in me. Keep that kindling in me.
I love that fear of the Lord, because in the reality, and we might not want to admit it, but sometimes we can be Saul.
Yeah, absolutely.
Saul feared the people.
Yeah.
He feared what their retaliation and what they would think, and he knew who God was. He knew God's wrath. He knew, but he feared the people. And sometimes we can know God, we can have wisdom of God, we can even hear his voice, we can even hear his instructions. He had clear instructions from God on what he was supposed to do, but because he feared people more, he did ulterior things. And so sometimes, and that's just the reality of it, sometimes we can be a Saul in our lives. We don't want to let down. And you might not think, Saul was the king, so the people were like, his subject, he didn't want to let them down. Like, he's the king. So when I think about a husband or even being a wife, like, sometimes you can do ulterior things, or your children or your parents, like, you might do things ulterior to what God is telling you, even though you heard his voice, you have wisdom, you have instruction, because you don't want to feel like I let them down. They're asking me. They know, especially when it comes to your parents or your spouse, you just feel like, or you just know they know best, or, especially with your parents, like, you know, like, you're raised to know that they know best, but God is like, I gave them to you, and ultimately I know best, know. And so getting to even that place, like I said, is something I was like literally dealing with, just, wanting to be like the good child and not the let down, And so God is like, I know best. I know best. I know, listen to my voice, follow me, and then get to that place where you have that fear of me, to where it's like blind obedience. Like, you hear my voice so clearly, you're seeking my voice so much, literally, that like the moment I say boom, I'm doing it, that there's no questions, there's no like you said, no plan B's. And it's just what you're saying is so on time, because we just did a weekend together where we kind of shut down everything, and just to kind of get focused and relax and rest and not be so much on the go, because we've created a life for ourselves where anybody can call on us anytime and we're available. And it literally has pulled us apart, not from each other, but just apart from the things that we're supposed to do, where we're like an octopus. Our arms are just all over the place. Our legs are all over the place. We're going. And so we're like, we just need this space. And so we go out to this place where we're, secluded, and, you can't just drive, you go to grocery stores, it's 20 minutes or anything like that. So it's like, we can't really just leave. So it's like, we're here, and it was such a beautiful time to just, reconnect with each other, breathe the air, look at not at a moment's notice, someone can call us, hey, can you do this? And, I don't have it as bad as Jayce, because Jayce, anybody can call Jayce, and he gonna be like, hey, just let me go help them out. And that's just him, and it's not a bad quality, but also you gotta know when there's a no. And I have these things I got going on, and, what's your priority? and having your priorities in order. So that way, when it's time to say your no, you're not feeling like you're letting people down, or that, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, because you know who you are, what you're supposed to be doing, and you're actively doing it.
Yeah.
That's the part. You're actively doing what you're supposed to do. So now it's easy to say yes, 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 because I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't have my iron in the right fire. Yeah. So if somebody asks me to do something, at least I'm doing something.
Yeah.
But you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
It's and that's why I was saying, like, looking at myself and then, just kind of like reevaluating my own self-value. Right. Because and thing in other ways, like, valuing my own time, and not just giving my time so freely to others or to other things that I shouldn't be giving my time to, Yeah. And it's like, because I'm not valuing my own time, then other people aren't valuing my time, Yeah. Because I'm willing to just drop whatever I'm doing and go help somebody else. So it's like, everybody has the idea that, oh, well, I'll just call him because he'll come. And it's like you said, it is a good quality to have, but there's other things that I need to prioritize, Yeah. And, man, it makes me think about, we were watching the sermon with Miles Monroe, and he was saying that the greatest trick of the enemy is the enemy doesn't actually try to get you to do evil things or bad things. He's like, his greatest trick is to trick you into doing what's good. But it's not necessarily good for you. It's not the right thing for you to be doing at that time. But you're okay with doing it because it's good. So when you think about it, it's like, oh, this is the right thing to do, But then it also goes back to like, but if you're not seeking God and listening for Him, God could be telling you, no, don't do that. Even though it's morally a good thing to do. It's okay to do that. It is helping your neighbor or helping your friend or, whatever. It is actually helping them. But, God may not want you to be the one helping them. God may actually need them to call on Him, or something. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it kind of makes me think, about that. And, and so, as I started, thinking about it that way, it kind of made me just like start to reflect on myself and like, okay, I gotta start moving a little differently here, and start prioritizing other things and really just seeking God more, and doing, what God is asking me to do or telling me to do rather, so
so it can be easier. Like it's, we're not lazy people. Right. We're not people who don't want to do anything. So it's easier to help when you don't know what you're supposed to be doing for yourself. You don't know the right thing. Like Jay said, we have so many plans and so many ideas and so many businesses that could be working. And even, like I just talked to a lady. I'm telling you, when I tell you, you pray about a thing, you talk to God about a thing. Me and Jayce, we've been, like I said, we've been in this exposed place. So especially me, so we've been talking a lot, and when we talk, we pray. And so we were talking about our finances and just, get into some nitty gritty. So we begin to pray, and we pray for financial wisdom, and that God gives us the wisdom so that we can be good stewards, and also not just be stewards, but we can be, live in abundance because we're good stewards, So sufficient, learn what's sufficient for us. Right. We can have the wisdom to know what's sufficient for us, and then to go into abundance. So, and with abundance, you need to know what God wants you to do with these finances. So you need financial wisdom. You need wisdom. And so we begin to pray over these things. And that same day, I actually, we're over the weekend at the party. I meet a lady. This lady and her husband were sitting down, and they looked so familiar to me. Mm-hmm. I never met these people in my life. Don't know them. Mm-hmm. And it was on me so much that I had to go like, hey, who are y'all here with? Are y'all with this person or that person? where do I know y'all from? And I'm like, y'all just look so familiar. And they were like, we were saying the same thing about you. You look so familiar. Turns out we don't know each other, but these people happen to be financial advisors.
Wow.
And they have a financial ministry.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, what? And so I had one call with a lady afterwards, like, just over this time, because I knew I wanted to talk to her while we were at the cabin. I didn't want to talk to anybody, but I wanted to talk to her because I knew she would give me some, like, insight on, like, what is something we need to talk about. There was one thing she said is, like, you know, where I was talking to her and I, you know, just giving her a rundown by myself, and she again, when I say exposed, when you get in those rooms, they not trying to hear all that. They see what it is, and she's giving me already, like, she's like, you got so many irons in the fire. I don't know anybody who's successful with so many irons in the fire like that. Like, you need to figure out what your one thing is. And it just, like, challenged me so much, because it's like, now I have to come to God and say, God, what is my one thing? Like, I know what it looks like. I know what I want to do. I know what would make me feel good about myself. But can you tell me, can you show me what is that one thing in a place that I'm not being selfish? Yeah. I'm not thinking about myself. I'm thinking about what it is that you want us to do. And I know that you're going to open up all the doors that that I need to be opened, you know, or that are to be open for me when it comes to my next step and the places that you have for me and the places that you've shown me. And so, like, that has been, that focusing in on that priority. Yeah. And God has shown me what it is. And the thing is, for me, it's a supportive role. Yeah. It's not, and it's like, God, but I want to be the star. Nah. You know, but no, it's a supportive role, and I know that God wants that for me and for us to get to that next place, and it's like honing in on that and listening to His voice. But it took someone telling me, like, and we've heard it before, but the way she said it, it just, like, it almost, like, not scared me, but it just put like a fire under my butt. In reality, like, if you want your situation to change, you need to figure out what it is and quit playing around. Is basically how I heard her say it. And we talked about it, and we realized we weren't doing what we needed to do for that one thing. Yeah. You know, and because we weren't doing for that one thing, we hadn't seen it move the way it's supposed to move. You know, in fact, you know, Jayce was saying, like, you start looking towards, like, you know, you have this one thing, and then you start going towards this other thing, and that hasn't moved. So you've invested so much time and energy and effort, and this hasn't moved in the way that even that has moved. Like, they're both in this neutral ground and not doing what you needed to do. So do what you're supposed to do.
That reminds me of the scripture from Paul. He was in 1 Corinthians. He says, all things are lawful, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful, but not all things build up. And it's like, I can do all I want to do. I ain't breaking any laws. And like I ain't going against God, but they're not helpful for where I'm going. They're not building me up to, like, build. When you build something, that means that you have to have a focus on that one thing so they can continue to grow higher. So if you're building in multiple places or all those things, then you don't have space to really focus on building one thing higher. And it's like, man, just having your eggs in so many, that was one of the things I got delivered from, for real. It's like, I'm going to keep my options open. Or, I'm going to keep my options open. I'm not going to commit to anything. And honestly, in a way, it was a twisted way of me trying to guard my heart. Yes. Because it's like, if this don't work, I got something to fall back on. I didn't give my all in that situation. But the Lord, like, convicted me heavy about it. It's like, first off, you don't trust me to guard your heart. Secondly, it's that oh my God, it's
tell the truth.
So if you have your eggs all in one basket, then you don't trust the direction in which I give you to go on. That means you're so focused on every other option, that you can't put your focus on where I am leading you, which means you don't trust my voice.
Yeah.
You don't trust my guidance of you. And it's like, in a way, you're afraid to give your all.
That's the word.
For instance, the scripture where it's the story where it's talking about the 3 Hebrew boys, right? Mm-hmm. They could have decided when they stood up and said that they weren't going to bow, that when the fire got presented to them, that they would go ahead and bow, so they wouldn't have to go through the fire, because they could have been afraid to get burnt.
Yeah.
But if you know who you are, and you stand on the fact that this is like, I'm set on this mindset, I'm set on where the Lord is leading me.
Even if I don't get delivered
if I don't get delivered, then, because in order for you to go through something, you have to put yourself at the risk of being burnt.
Yeah.
You are, like, in order for you to like to really take that sold out step, there has to be a risk involved with it. And so it's like, all right, I'm risking my entire life on this. And in the middle of it, Jesus was revealed in the middle of them going and taking that risk, which means that there is a revealing of Jesus that comes when we step out and take the risk. Jesus is actually seen to other people when we step out and take the risk, and we don't put our eggs all over the place or say, I have other options, and maybe I can worship God at home and still worship this idol in front of everybody. Where it's like, nah, I ain't got no other choice. I'm either going to die here or the Lord going to show up here. It's like, Jesus is revealed. Jesus is revealed. Jesus is revealed. And that's the purpose of all we do. That's the purpose of marriage. That's the purpose of relationship. That's the purpose of our finances. It's so that Jesus will be revealed through it. And so, like, risk is involved with it. It takes risk, and the only way that you can really experience risk is if you're all in. That's the only way you can fully experience risk.
That's it. That's all in. And it's like when you said, it's like that afraid. For me, it's like the reality is, like you say, you don't have a spirit of fear, but when you think about why you're not doing these things, is fear. You know, fear of what could potentially,
if it don't work out.
You know, and it's like, it don't matter what's gonna happen.
Right.
All I know is you are Lord. You are holy. You sit high on the throne. You are, who you say you are. Like, all these things that I know about God, it doesn't matter what you do. I should be able to say I will die on that word that my God is the God, And it's like, sometimes we don't do things because we're like, what if God doesn't prove himself? And so we don't move forward. What if God doesn't prove himself? Right. And it's like, what do you believe about God? It goes right back to, what do you believe about God? And then I'm learning to, like, they say have expectations about God and have set expectations. But it's like, my expectation is that God is going to be God.
God is going to show up.
God is going to show up. God is going to be God. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. God is going to be God. That's my expectation. That God is going to show himself. But I've got to take off my expectations of what that's going to look like. Like, for so long, like, I've had, like, this, it's got to look like this, it's got to look like that, it's got to feel like that, it's got to feel like this. God is going to show himself in this way and that way. And, like, even when God showed up, I'm so used to, like, it has to be, like, this overwhelming experience. Where recently, like, I felt God's presence in, like, the most nurturing and calming way. Like, it did not overwhelm me. It did not, I wasn't bawling, crying, but it was like this sense that God's presence was just there, and it was just so sweet. But it was like the best word I can give for you, it was like nurturing. Like, God knew I needed some nurturing in this place, and that is how he showed himself to me. And it was so different because, like, I expected to be, like, wrecked. And even though I was wrecked, it wasn't, like, a wailing. It wasn't, like, a sprawled out on the floor. Like, God wrecked me in the sweetest of ways. If I could just, if if I could explain it like that, to where it was as if like he held me and he showed me him. It was just so calm. Like it was the calmest.
Yeah.
Like it's like, you know how you listening to those Holy Spirit music and it's like that calm thing.
Yeah.
It was like that is like how God, and I needed that. I didn't need to be sweating and torn. Like God knew, like he just needed to hold me, you know. And it was like that's how God showed himself to me, and I wouldn't have expected that because I had this visual and this idea of how God wanted to show up. And I even say like the way, because I was at the Creators Intensive when I experienced God in this way, and like to me, it was as if God showed me who He was doing creation, like. God was probably creating a masterpiece and it wasn't mad. It wasn't mad. It probably was like beautifully visioning like all these things. Like this is just how I visualize it. Like he's just like painting this beautiful art piece and it's just flowing together and it's a beautiful, serene experience for God. Like he's separating the light. Like it's, you know, when you're painting, it's like literally a color that can separate a different color, you know, from the dark and the night. Like it just so peaceful and calm, this experience of God the Creator. Like I don't feel like God toiled in creation. You know, God knew what he was doing and he was putting it in place and he was forming it and he was molding. Even when you think about somebody who does pottery, when they're molding it, it's not a mad experience. It's like they're forming it and they're, you know, molding it and they're, you know, it's spinning. It's not crazy. It's not chaotic. It's peaceful. It's satisfying to watch. You know, like that's how I feel like I experience God's presence, like in this satisfying way, in this peaceful and calming. And it's like, this is God, this is how you created me. You know, you thought so carefully about me. You put me together in the most beautiful kind of way. And I experienced that, you know. It was not, but that's how we see, that's how we go to church and we see the wild and the on fire, and there's nothing wrong with that because trust me, when the presence of God comes, it does be like that sometimes, but sometimes it is.
He's so multifaceted.
Yes, and so I've learned to draw back my expectations of what it looks like so that I can see what God needs me to see, you know, so that I can actually walk into the things that He has for me, because it's like I feel like I've had like these sunglasses or like a VR of what my life should look like, and God is like, if you just take that off, you'll see what's real. You know, you have this virtual reality vision of your life, but if you take that off, I'll show you the reality of what it is and what I can do. You know, stop trying to manipulate and make your life what you think would be good for you because of your circumstances, because of your experiences, because of what you've been through. You know, take that off so I can show you, you know, where I've been and what I've done in your life, and then what I can do in your life and what I will do in your life when you seek me and when you believe me. That's what God just like, truly believe me. Like, I know you believe me, but believe me. God, help me with your unbelief. Like, you know, it's like, I believe you, but help me with my unbelief. Like, I believe that word was in the Bible for a reason, because he knew that we would believe him, but we will be struggling with unbelief in our life for various reasons, you know, our upbringing and our experiences, or times we didn't understand or we didn't know, and instead of us going to God, I don't understand why I went through that. If you loved me, or if you, and I believe that God will show himself, you know, because he will. And so I've just been, that's like that space I've been in, is like really seeking God truly, and knowing that when I believe fully about who he is, and then I step out into that obedience, I will see the successful life that God has for me, not what I vision as success. You know, obviously what I vision as success is skewed and it's circumstantial, and it's based off of my experiences. It's based off of what the world tells me is successful. It's based off of what I think will put me in better positions. Is based off of so many things, and it's not even based off sufficient. You know, it's not based off of, this is a good life for me. You know, I just need something different. I just don't want to keep going through this, you know. And God is like, I just need you to learn what's sufficient and keep learning what's sufficient and keep living in sufficiency, Christ's sufficiency. You know, what is sufficient for you, you know? And I've been thinking about that, like, God, what is sufficient for me? You know, and it doesn't mean that I'm living in sufficiency right now, because a lot of things that I have been doing, trying to get there, has actually kept me in like a impoverished state. You know, of course it's not poverty, because but it's kept me from less than what is sufficient, because of mindset, because of fear, because of doubt, because of lack of obedience, you know, because that's the truth. You're not moving in the way. Lack of seeking, you know. What was it? Recently, I think I was talking to you about this, where I had I was going through this space of like doubt, I guess, or not doubt. It wasn't worry. It was kind of, I wouldn't even say, maybe like, I don't even know what to call it, like hopelessness. I don't know what it was, and I wasn't worried about it. But at the same time, I didn't really have like a faith or a belief, like, God, what are you're going to do something about this? I just was like, I can't worry about it. It is what it is type of mentality. But I thought I was doing something because I wasn't worried about it. And I called it a place of I don't know. Yeah. I was in this place of I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's next. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know how. I don't know. But I'm not going to worry about it. Like, that was my mind, right? And then God does something that was just like he just showed himself to me in like a financial way and a supernatural way. And literally in that moment, he's like, if you would have asked me, you would have known. You don't know for the sake of not knowing. You don't know because in that moment of not knowing, you didn't ask. And it just did something to me, like, God, how you going to show yourself to me and then also
rebuke me at the same time? Like, that's how he does it.
And it's like in those places of doubt and fear, like literally coming to God and asking God and knowing that like he is a father to love us and to love us through it and to tell us and to share with us. And like that's something God has shown me recently, is like, I know you've been through a lot of things. I know your life and circumstances have shaped you in a way, but if you come talk to me about it, I'll help you, and I'll show you who I am, and I'll show you who I've been during those times. Like I think about us, our parents, we'd be like, why did they do that? And then you get older and you like, now I understand why they did that during that time. I thought they were just mean, or they were literally protecting me, and I thought they were, they didn't like my friends, or they didn't trust my friends, and I couldn't go over there because, whatever. Right. But really that whole time they were protecting me, from all kinds of things that I had no idea. But that time I thought they were being mean. And sometimes we can do that with God. Yeah. We can have those feelings towards God, but we don't deal with it, and it shapes our beliefs. And I don't know, I guess I'm just saying this to encourage you to, whatever you're dealing with, whatever you have felt where you missed God in the past, or any places of unbelief, or questions you may have about God, you can come to God. I seen somewhere Sheena was on her Coffee with Jesus, I think it's what she called it, and she says Moses goes to him and says, who's going to come with me? He asks God, who's going to come with me? You're sending me, but somebody got to come with me. And he says, I am that I am. Since who do I tell them that sent me? Like, I just can't show up. Who do I tell them that sent me? He says, I am that I am. And so God answered him with his question. And so I just encourage you, whatever you're going through, or whatever you feel like, God, I feel like you weren't there during that time. Show me where you were. Yeah. Show me what I didn't see, or reveal to me, and help me to understand that time. Because I do believe that you've always been with me, or even I'm struggling that you believe that you were with me during that time, or that that you didn't love me. That's a big one, that you didn't love me, because sometimes we think that God didn't love us, or
that's good.
So I just encourage you to go to God, seek God, and He will reveal to you. He will show you. And there is nothing that God has done has been hateful or evil, but everything that God has been good, and he's meant it for good. And I know God will show you who he has, and it's going to transform and heal you in areas of your belief in your faith so that you can get into those next rooms and those doors that God has waiting for you to open. Yeah. You know, he's waiting for you so that they can be open, so that, you know, you have to be who you need to be in those doors. Because once those doors open, if you're not prepared, if you're not ready, if you don't have the understanding, if you don't have the wisdom,
Wow. Well,
That's good.
all right. Guys, we really do hope that you got something from today.
Yeah.
We were just kind of sharing our heart, where we've been. And I just know that the Lord is continuing to do something in our lives and our hearts. And I'm just excited to see, like, we'll talk about it, I'm sure, at some point. But, like, I wish you could see, there's so much that's happened in the three of our lives since the last time that we've talked. And it's, like, continuing. So you're literally watching our growth. In the Lord. Man, we've been in places that have been low, and we've been in highs, and all in between, and God is still faithful. We're here. It's just so much. Part. So we want to encourage you to do a few things before we get ready to wrap up. First off, we are guided by your questions and comments as well. So if you would like us to talk about a specific topic or something, you can leave a comment on the YouTube video, or you can send us a DM on Instagram, and that's _podcast. We're also on Facebook, and we are on TikTok. So follow us on those platforms: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I think we're working on any other platforms that we're not on, but we're on those, the _podcast, and of course on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast, not Apple Podcast, Apple Podcast. Can you do us a favor though? Leave a review if you're listening on Spotify, YouTube, or on Apple Podcasts. Those are important. It gets the podcast out there. It lets other people know about what's going on through us. And I'm telling you, it's been a blessing. So shout out everybody who's left a review. Shout out everybody who supported. Shout out everybody who shared and let us know about what God is showing them through the podcast. We're so excited to continue this journey because it's been so good. It's been so
been good.
It's been so good.
It has been good.
So we're just beginning. We're just getting started.
Just getting started.
And so we're excited for what all God's going to do through this. So without further ado, I'm Kemen Dumas. You can follow me at Kemen Dumas on Instagram.
Jayce Parker. You follow me on Instagram at jayce.p.
And I'm Dezre'al, and you can follow me at purpose.desi. And I just want to add, maybe you don't have a question, but you have some encouraging words for us. So feel free to share that. We love to read them on here and encourage one another. And so just want to drop that. Again, purpose.desi. I'm Dezre'al.
So if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, hit that notification bell so you know whenever we upload. And guys, we will see you guys next month for a brand new episode. We can't wait to see you. We'll see you soon. Peace. Yeah.